Well, you guys seem to have liked the part 1 for surf fishing, so I guess we're gonna do part 2. And we're gonna start with this little handy dandy buggy for the... Alright, so zip it up. We've got this little beach cart. It has 7 of these rod holders around. Good enough space for a pretty good sized Yeti. You can put obviously your fishing rods, your rod holders. I'm gonna see how this turns out with the sand flea rake. Not sure, may not turn out great, may just all over the place because it's bent. It's supposed to be bent. So if not, I'll just hold it. But if I've got nothing else in my hands, that's not a bad gig. And then yeah, we've got the large fishing rod over there for the surf fishing. So I'm gonna go grab that as well, and we're gonna run it over. So I'm gonna try to get some sand fleas for the small ones, with that one right there. We're gonna put a casting spoon, like a Clark spoon kind of style, on this one here, and then a larger version on the big cast surf rod. If we catch some bait fish, then we'll put that on a that kind of a rig for a Carolina rig. But I'm just gonna kind of break down the kind of, you know, lures and stuff I use for surf fishing. Like, hey, this is how you're gonna cast, this is how you're gonna do this or do that. Speaking of, I need to open up my truck because I have my gloves in there and I don't want to do this without gloves. Braid will chew up your fingers, especially if it's a heavy enough braid. I've got 30-pound on the big rod, and if I send it, it will slice my finger. I mean, I've done it a few times already. More than one is already dumb, but a few times. So we're gonna get this thing over to the beach side. I'll record the walk over, but stay tuned. All right, so we're out here on the beach, and biggest thing to do, typically on a day this rough, you're gonna start trying to figure out what kind of weight you're gonna need to keep your bait from moving around. So on a day like today, I'd probably choose a pretty heavy weight. Essentially what happens is the current starts to move whatever bait or weight you have sitting there. If it's not a Sputnik style where it anchors onto the ground, and it'll begin to roll, you know, one side or the other wherever the current's going. So from there, you'll probably see it move right to left on this beach here. Beyond that, you're gonna be looking at the height of your rods versus the waves. So we've got 2 7-foot rods. Those are more like your casting jig rods, inshore style. And then I've got the massive surf rod. So you're looking at anything between 10 and 12 feet. This is gonna be your best bet for getting over waves like this. This rod is rated up to 10 ounces, so between 6 ounces and 10 ounces. I think between 20 pounds of braid and 40 pounds of braid. And those are gonna be your sweet spots, essentially, for getting your maximum casting and maximum use out of that rod. So, your bait types. We are in the Atlantic, this is the Outer Banks. With this type of fishing on this side, you're going to use cut baits, dead baits, frozen bait, typically on anything that's got a weight on it. So if you're going to use a tree sinker or a tree rig or a Carolina rig or something along those lines with a hook or 2 hooks with a weight that holds it, you're going to be looking at your shrimp, you're going to be looking at your squid, you're going to be looking at cut bait, which is typically mullet, finger mullet, something along those lines. Some people even go to bloodworms. Now there's another thing you can catch. I'm sure if you've watched my channel before, you've seen me do it with this rake. It is a sand flea rake. Its purpose is you're gonna go up into the surf here, and where all these shells are kind of running around, you're gonna see these little V's. Typically that's gonna be some shells or debris that are in the water, but you'll also get a good mix of sand fleas. What they do is they bury down when the waves come back over, and because they leave that little hole that creates that V wake, it lets you know where they are. Honestly, one of the best things to do is take a rake like this. You can use a shovel and just dig down and throw it. They can bury through soft, wet sand. It has to be wet, but they can't bury through dry sand. Don't ask me how that works, but it does. So I'm gonna give it a shot here. I see some stuff right in here in this area. I'm gonna give it a big old pull, and we're gonna bring it in, and that is a good pompano bait. So that's for your smaller rods, smaller hooks, something along those lines, a small sand flea. That's what you're gonna be seeing out here. So that's a good bait, a cheap bait that you can keep using to get bait fish or small stuff like whiting. So we're gonna give it a shot here. Don't hit yourself with this thing. It is metal, it does hurt. I have tried it. You can take my word for it. And there, get that shot. This is what a sand flea is. This little crustacean, and it can dig through the sand, and fish like them. So we're gonna throw it on this little rod here. It's got a bit of a big hook for it, but again, I'm not really terribly concerned today because it's gonna be a rough day as it is. Here's a trick. Go from the belly underneath their hard shell, and you're gonna pull through towards the top. Once you see the sharp point of your hook start coming through, go ever so slightly through it, but see how I cracked the shell, kind of peeled? You want to avoid that because it lets the sand flea kind of slide along the hook and eventually get loose and come off. With this kind of waves, I could catch something here. I'm not 100% sure. We'll give it a shot anyway because that's what we're here to do. But we're gonna be using, I wanna say this is 20-pound fluoro on a 10-pound braid, and this is a little fish finding rig. I would use a pompano rig. Go to your local tackle store. They're kind of golden circle, like ovular hooks, little oval shapes, and they have this odd angle to them. They're great for hooking these on. They're usually in a pair of a rig, so there's two hooks, top and bottom, and a weight on there. And I think those work really good for pompano. You're gonna be going against where this break is. As you can see, there's white caps, and then there's rolling waves, and there's like this, you obviously see the wave is stacking, but it's not breaking. When it's stacking and not breaking, it's coming up in a big wave, but it's not breaking over. That's deeper water. When it starts to break over and it's white, that's a sandbar. So sandbars are good structure. I like to put these right on either the front or the back of a sandbar if I can help it. You can try different ones, like put it in the trough. You can put it on top of the sandbar. That works as well, but I'm looking for something where as they are changing depth, they may see this bait. So it seems to me that there's not really a great, sure is breaking right there. I want to put it right on the other side of it, which is a trough coming up to a sandbar, or to the beach in this case. So there's your cast. Sometimes going as far as you possibly can is not the greatest move. Sometimes a good accurate cast looking for something is a lot better. We're gonna look at our other rod here, the C-Tex, again 7 foot. This one's a medium heavy with a 4000 spinning reel. I'm gonna put on a weighted jig on there. I have usually I'd have a snap swivel tied on already. I don't in this case, so I'm just gonna tie the jig directly onto the line to the leader, and I'm just gonna send them out. That's never good. I have to keep an eye on these kids to my left because I don't want that hook going all the way out there. Be mindful of that. One of the many issues we'll run into with a strong current day. It's gusting in the 20s, I think, today. 20s, almost 30. I want to say 32 is supposed to be the highest gust we're supposed to get. But as you can see, it's out of the southwest, which is off the ocean side. It creates these waves that get stacked up. That's a common thing. We'll know right now. All right, we're probably not gonna put this back out because it is gone. So good example of when it's too choppy for certain baits or certain things. That was maybe 30 seconds out there, came right off. So we're gonna switch to the next thing. Went over to the Frisco Rod and Gun. We bought a couple of these hard casting baits. So Some of you by now already know I don't love treble hooks. They're my least favorite just because they catch up on everything. But this one does have a treble hook. You can get these where they have a circle hook or a regular J hook or something along those lines. Again, I prefer not having a treble if I can help it. During the summer months here in the Outer Banks, you're gonna run into some warm water species like Spanish mackerel. So mackerel and even bluefish like to chase shiny things. So this treble hook right here is gonna be dragged behind this bait, and this bait is shaped the way it is for casting distance. So like I was saying before, this is a shiner style casting jig. It's got some weight to it. I believe it's about 2 ounces, I want to say. And this is going to be what we use for species that are like warm water species that chase shiny things, your bluefish, your Spanish mackerel. You're going to get those right off the surf right here, usually on a clear water day. Again, we're just demonstrating for, you know, people who are going to come out and fish for stuff like this. So have your leader line, probably something a little bit thicker than a 20-pound fluoro, depending. If your hook's this far back, sometimes it'll be good, but a lot of these toothy fish will eat right through a lot of lines like this. So you're gonna want a thicker leader style, and then you wanna tie something like a fisherman's knot. So if you have a question on that one, I would Google fisherman's knot, where you basically spin this around so many times, comes back through the eyelet of your loop where you started, and then you start pulling that and it condenses down to a coil. Get rid of that tag end, you don't want that sticking out, and now you're good to go. A lot of times, I personally like to put a snap swivel on these. I haven't actually used this rod yet. We bought 4 of them with these 4 spin fishers, and just never got this one out as of yet. So I have not put my signature on it. So I've got a, goodness gracious, I guess I have a double uni knot tying this on. I didn't realize I had done that, but I'm trying new knots. I usually put in an FG knot. That's my personal favorite. It's getting dark out there. All right, let's get back to the point of this. All right, so you're out here, you're looking at other people and they're casting something. What are they doing? Why are they doing it? All right. So you want to be careful with the knots that you tie from braid to leader. So your braid is your main line. It's a lot of it. Your leader is your tougher line. That's designed for bites, for clarity, keeps the fish from seeing, like sometimes they'll see braid and they'll see like, ah, there's something there, they don't like it. A lot of these leaders are not clear per se, but they are translucent to a degree. They're more difficult to pick up underwater, and they help with bite. So like you don't want to have like 40-pound line all the way through, so you put a lighter line, you tie on thicker line later on, and it's good for bites or stretch or stuff of that nature. So a lot of people will take these spoons and they're gonna chuck them into the surf, and they're looking for these mackerel, these bluefish. So we're gonna do the same thing. So big tip on this, you know, when you pin back your line and you flip over the bail, make sure that your tip is not wrapped. Sometimes on a windy day like today, you throw it out there, the tip gets wrapped, reel it in, or either way, and you have some pressure on the line suddenly, it can pop your line just because it got wrapped up on something, has nowhere to go. Your drag's not gonna help you, so it will break off. Make sure your bail is open when you're casting, especially with a heavy weight like this. A lot of like the longer kind of big loopy casts for, you know, a Carolina rig, you can get away with, whoops, I forgot to flip it and it lands in front of you. Basically it just goes wham. These, because they're meant for casting distance, it will rip it off. It will keep going with whatever the weakest part of your line, separating right there, breaking, and you won't see it again. I've done it too many times to count. I'm very bad with, you know, getting into a rhythm and for some reason forgetting to pop the bail. Please do that. So I'm gonna cast it out there into that break, get some good distance on it, and you're gonna retrieve it relatively quickly. You want it to keep moving around and kind of be like a dart or a flash in the water, where if a fish is there, they're gonna see it and react, and their reaction is gonna be, I'm gonna eat it. And they don't look at it, they don't sit there and ponder on it, they don't go off a scent or anything. It's a reactionary strike. So let's give it a shot, see what happens. All right, now I'm gonna reel pretty quick like this. Once I get some tension on the line, all that slack is gone, I can kind of just keep a nice chug going along here. And you can change higher or lower. That will affect where it is in the water column, along with how fast you reel it in. Go from here, pop the bail, throw. And you repeat. We're not going out empty-handed today, folks. Because this drags across the bottom right here in the surf, I caught a sand flea. This poor guy has no clue what just hit him and just got impaled by what's the equivalent of us getting impaled by a rocket. So again, rods like this, they're gonna be great for your jigs, casting, small things like that and retrieving them, making frequent casts. They're not gonna be great, however, for long casts on a baited hook that's gonna sit out in the waves. The reason these rods that we use for surf fishing are so tall is to get above the waves so the line as it sits isn't so far into the wave where the current is able to get a hold of it. And each wave that topples over pulls it some more. You want to be higher up above that. So I personally would say if you're getting into this, you can get maybe one of these hard casting lures. It's a little bit more specialized, a little more difficult. It comes down to a certain kind of day. Clear water, a lot calmer than this, not as much wind, and you've got those Spanish that are really going after bait based on sight, versus today is something where I'd have to put it right on his head for him to bite. So if you're gonna be doing this, I also recommend, since folks who are newer may want to have the ability to just switch things out, tie on, instead of this leader straight to the bait here, a snap swivel of some sort, right? So snap swivels are great because you tie them onto your line and then they have a clasp that opens and closes, or snaps open and closed, and you're able to change your baits. So I like to make my own rigs, and you can buy them from the store even, right? But a lot of them will have some sort of a barrel swivel. On my setup here, you'll see exactly that, right? So you can see there's a snap swivel along with just a typical barrel swivel. So this top part, this whole thing is a snap swivel. There's different types. I like to use some of them that are kind of a one piece altogether. This is kind of a two-piece system. This thing, its job is to go from a line onto this metal anchor where you can open and close it. So for example, I've just opened it up and then grab it together, press it, and it closes, and you're able to disconnect something like this. This is another swivel similar to the top part but without this snap part. This you can just tie on to a rig and you now have a permanent loop that you can affix things to. So you can tie a loop, or you can have a loop like this. I'm typically looking at somewhere between the 50 to 70 pound plus swivels, just because I deal with lines that are up to 60 pounds and I want to make sure that that's not the part that fails. So if you catch something like a shark, that will be the part that probably fails. I've done it. I actually straightened one of these swivels out at one point. It's awesome, but it's not when you lose a fish, but it's incredible to see how strong they are. So this is a good example. From here, we've got 30 pound monofilament, thicker than this 20 pound fluoro. And this is a self-contained rig. So when I take this off, I can put this on any other one of my rods that I'd like to use it on. So if I want to change rod lengths, or I want to have this particular one with this smaller weight and the smaller hook on my large rod for whatever reason, I can just disconnect it and connect it to the rod for the larger one. And in this case, actually I'm not going to take it off here, but I will show you what that looks like. So these are the heavier duty offshore ball bearing swivels. I like these more They're a lot more durable. There's not a very thin piece of metal for clasping like the other ones, and it's just kind of like a twist, like a haywire twist of metal. I like this a lot better. It's easier to thread things onto. That's my personal preference. Some people like the other ones better. These are a little more expensive. I've used both, and the other ones seem to rust faster. So I'll put this back on this loop and leave it on there. So, kind of all in a recap again here. Right? Surf fishing the Outer Banks is really one of those things where it's learning by fire, trial by fire. It's a learning lesson constantly. You know, you're coming out on days like this going, can I really catch something? If I had cut mullet and I had a big 10-ounce Sputnik sinker on my cast rod and I launch it out there, I can anchor it and I could probably get a drum, because some of these drum like to hunt on days like today where it's very murky. There's a lot of movement, a lot of current, and the bait fish are kind of getting bullied around by the current, which means these bigger 30-plus pound drum can just come up and nail them out of nowhere. It does a better job of concealing them, and they're, you know, able to see the bait fish or sense them even in strong waters like this. So the surf fishing setup slash how to surf fish, you're gonna want a 10-foot plus rod optimally with around a 5,000 to 6,000 size reel. I recommend using braid as your main line. It's thinner, it's stronger. 10-pound braid does not equate to 10-pound monofilament. 10-pound mono is thicker, and it's also more easily broken. Like the test strength is not the same. So I would recommend going to something for surf rod, 20-pound to 30-pound with maybe a 30-pound monofilament leader. Going on to like between a 75 to 100-pound snap swivel on the end of your leader. Have your tackle shop tie on your leader for you if you'd like. A lot of them do a good job for that. Or go and check out some other channels. I know like Nomad Tackle, I think they did a great example of how to tie an FG knot. It took me some tries, but I was able to kind of figure it out. I like the FG knot because it cycles perfectly through your guides, and you don't catch your guides, you don't bang up your guides. It's a very strong knot. It's a constriction knot, so as you put more pressure, it digs into your leader more and more, your braid does, and it tightens that connection. Your bait types you're gonna be looking at here in the Outer Banks. Squid is great. It smells a lot. It's very durable. You can get squid strips, they're scented. You can also get full squid. It's a box about this big. It's got full frozen squid in there at most Lunds. I think it's LUNDTS or something like that. Anyway, they have them in the freezers, thawed out a little bit, and just cut like little, like you would like a calamari you get at a restaurant, stuff like that. Little circle, put it on a hook, cast it out there. Shrimp is another great one. Shrimp catches a lot of stuff, but on a rough day like today, shrimp is very brittle, especially if it's not fresh, if it's frozen. Fresh is always better for shrimp. If you can get live shrimp, even better than that. But it comes off the hook very easily, so you have to be very attentive to your line. Bloodworms are another good one. They're very expensive, but you can catch some good fish on that as well. Cut bait, that's what a lot of people here use. They go try to cast net or catch their own mullet. If not, a lot of these places get fresh mullet sent to them, and beyond that you can get like finger mullet that are frozen on a what do you call it when you suck out all the air? But yes, so they vacuum seal frozen mullet, usually finger mullet. Cut those up, you'll get stuff like drum, you'll catch your bluefish on them, stuff of that nature. And then of course sand fleas, like I showed you, it took me like 3 attempts and I caught a sand flea. Last time I was up in Frisco at Ramp 49 at high tide, I walked right out, went right to the water line. As soon as it came up, it started to come back down, dropped the rake, pulled it. I probably grabbed like 30, like good size, very fat sand fleas. They're great for it. If you find them in the like right here in the shore, whatever's in the water is probably eating them, right? There's a food source, they're eating it. Let's see what else. get something that can support the weight of your rod, put it in the sand. You don't want to hold your rod all day. Get something like this, a sea striker, a piece of PVC pipe. In this cart, I'm using the ones with the metal rods because they dig down easy and they're easier to store. If you're wanting to do stuff on your own, go to Home Depot, get about like a 12-foot long section of PVC pipe. I'd say, yeah, you can do it at a 6 foot, right? So cut it in half, but at a 45-degree angle, and you'll get that kind of shovel shape to it, right? A spike. So these are called sand spikes or rod holders, but they're essentially sand spikes, and it'll be easier to dig through the sand. You're gonna want that open side facing up so it doesn't fall over. That's a great way to hold onto your rod, but some of these big fish can still knock over a 10, 12-foot rod. It's a lot of torque, a lot of weight, so keep an eye on your rods. Beyond that, be mindful of what kind of hooks you're using. How big are your hooks? J hooks are gonna be very difficult to get out of a fish sometimes. If they swallow that hook, they're likely gonna die. Circle hooks are great because they sit in that corner of the mouth. If you let off some tension on the line, they will still hold on to the fish's mouth because they don't just come straight out. I recommend circle hooks for a lot of your bait applications. Oh, that guy's catching a crab there. Sinker weights. Make sure you look at what your rod is weighted for. On a day like today, you're looking at 10 ounces at least. A lot of these surf rods can do that. Again, be mindful of that. If you're a beginner as well, and you're casting, use a spinning rod. Casting rods are great. The kind of like a bait caster style or conventional reels, what they call them. They're great, but you will backlash them here very easily, and then you will not have a rod, and it's very expensive to respool. So if you're beginning out, you're starting, get a spinning reel. They're super great. I mean, you can get a surf fishing combo for under $100. Honestly, the rod, reel, and spooled with weights and hooks and stuff already, less than $100. That would be my recommendation. And then the last thing is, have some patience, have some fun. Tend your baits about every 10 to 15 minutes. I look into them, check to see if they're still there, and just move around. If you're your family and you're just stuck here, that's fine. If you're here for like 30, 45 minutes, you haven't had a bite, and your bait's still sitting there, move down the beach, go to another spot. Find something out in the water that interests you. It's maybe worth it. So I appreciate you guys' time. This is kind of the things that I think about when I go here and I surf fish. Outer Banks is amazing for it. Anything from red drum, black drum, bluefish, well, I should say red drum, bluefish, Spanish mackerel, pompano, whiting. Your black drum, you're typically gonna find more so on the sound side. It's really great, honestly. It's my favorite place on earth, and most places will have similar. If you have a beach like this, you can surf fish. So if you have questions, go ahead, comment down below what you have for a question. If you haven't already by now, please leave me a like, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. We're growing and growing, and I'm continuing to do videos like this and just kind of share my progress of living here and sharing whatever I know. Another person, if you're looking for content for fishing and you're new to it, you want to learn things, my buddy Abdullah at Born to Fish Outer Banks, I can link him down below. He's a great dude. Lots of great content, great information. He's constantly learning from people around the island, so I think that he's an amazing source of information because he kind of takes it all in and gives it a shot, and that's something really important to do here in the island. Always talk to your tackle shops, see what they think on things, and I think just, be a good judge of character. Obviously, some are great. I've been to some that aren't. Most of the ones here I think are really good. So like Frisco Rod and Gun, Red Drum Tackle, Teach's Lair, all great spots. So thank you so much. I hope you guys come out and visit the Outer Banks sometime soon. We love you. We appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out. Last but not least, I would also recommend hosing down your stuff, especially when you get a lot of salt and sand on it. Anything that's metal, besides aluminum, will corrode very, very fast. It'll rust out. So definitely, if you can, spray down your rods, spray down your reels. If you have a beach cart like this, spray it down as well. definitely worth it. You don't want to have to sit there and rebuy everything in 6 months time. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much.